The history of Mark Dooley, the founder of British Racecourses and sports betting tipsters. So Mark, what actually got you into horse racing?
I think I'm from a very competitive family, so that's probably where that started from. So I'm one of three boys, and we were always very much into our sports. So we were just naturally three competitive brothers against each other. Every year we were allowed to bet on the Grand National, like most probably families in the country, and it kind of stemmed from that. So we used to watch that race, used to get very excited, and then from that we were allowed to have a bet every Saturday, and that kind of stemmed the interests in the racing to start with. We were interested in that, so we'd watch it every kind of weekend.
So what is your local horse racing track that you went to?
Haydock, really, but that probably happened a little bit later. So we started to bet on the horses every weekend. At the same time, I also was starting to ride, so I used to ride, and for a short time I actually wanted to become a jockey. So that would have been a totally different life. But at one point I was thinking about becoming a jockey. Yeah, we used to go to Haydock Park whenever they had fixtures on, particularly the kind of summer evening fixtures. My mum would pick us up from school and we'd go down, and we wouldn't actually go in the main grandstand, but we'd go and sit outside and have like a picnic and take our dog and stuff. And that's where we would go down to the start. We'd kind of chat to the jockeys and just annoy them all down there. But that's how we got close to the action. So it went from watching it on TV to kind of me riding to then us going to the track and seeing it. So it just kind of organically grew. It wasn't like there was one thing. It happened over a kind of 10-year, 15-year period, basically.
So as Mark Dooley wanted to be a horse racing jockey, what actually stopped that from happening?
I think it was a big leap. I mean, we didn't have any actual connection, right? Apart from a passion, and I was a half decent rider. And I did actually go and had the interview and stuff at the Royal Northern Racing School, and I was going to go. I was all set to go. But then I was a bit young. I was kind of 15, 16, and I was doing my GCSEs, and then I got better than anticipated results in that. So Mum and Dad kind of were like, why don't you just stay on and see what you get in your A-levels, and if you still want to do it after that, you can go and become a jockey. But at the same time, I did all right in those, and life just took a different course. Although I was always interested in racing, I was still betting every weekend. I was still going to the tracks to watch the racing. So I never lost the passion for it, but it just started to go down like a different avenue. And also, I probably wasn't as light. I was tiny when I was 15. I could have rode off any weight I wanted, but as you get a bit older, things change.
So with regards to how you then didn't decide to be a jockey, did you ever have any aspirations to be like a horse racing trainer or an assistant trainer of horses, or not really?
That just wasn't something I'd kind of thought of. I think the passion just kind of remained, and I started to get more interested in like the breeding side of things, just because when you've been following it for kind of a period of time, like now it's over kind of 35, nearly 40 years of following it. Like a lot of the horses that I remember when I started watching racing in the kind of early 90s or 80s and stuff, you remember those now. You remember certain horses, and you see them on the kind of breeding pages. So that really kind of interests me. But no, I mean, now we actually own racehorses, which kind of felt like a natural route into it as well. So it kind of organically, spread into different areas of racing.
So let's move now into racehorse ownership. When you actually go into the sales, obviously you've got two other brothers. Do all of you go to the actual sales at, let's say, Tatterstalls or Goffs? And is there any debates there with what type of racehorses to purchase? Is there any difference of opinions? Like you mentioned there about the breeding, is that what you mainly look into, the breeding side? And obviously with regards to your younger brother in David Dooley, he's a very shrewd punter. Is he more about form? Or how does that work when you go in to choose a racehorse to purchase?
I wouldn't say like we had debates. I'd say probably we had arguments really when we go there, but we try to kind of keep it all under wraps. But like we definitely have got different opinions on it. So I would always start when we were going to a sale. I would always go through the catalogue. So that's looking at every single individual horse, seeing if I recognise any of those less obvious good horses on the pages. I'd go through that. I'd then send a shortened list to my two brothers, and then that's when the debates would kind of start. Yeah, David would go through the form. James, the youngest one, is just, we would always try to argue contrary reasons. But somehow we end up with a list of about 10 out of 1,000 or something like that. And then, you know, we've had a bit of luck with them, but it is, you know, you can do all your research and then you've got to say your prayers after that bit as well.
So there's the background of Mark Dooley, the founder of British Racecourses and Sports Betting Tipsters. From a young age wanting to be a jockey, to always looking to have a bet on the horses, to now being a successful racehorse owner. We hope you like the history of Mark Dooley.